One more time. Hello, and welcome to Knittin Kitten podcast number 29. My name is Mallory, otherwise known as JustADoseOfLove, all around the internet. So you can find me on Instagram, Reddit, Facebook, and Ravelry under JustADoseOfLove, though I am most active on Instagram. If you are a new viewer, welcome to the channel. This is a video podcast about knitting and crafts and kind of whatever else I happen to be up to at the time. If you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming to spend some time with me today. I'm recording in Edmonton, Alberta, where I live with my favorite feline, Sasika Sonia, Chris Connor, and a snake named Heidi. I'm also filming in Edmonton, Alberta. And yeah, if you have any questions about any of the things we talk about here today, the show notes can be found on the Ravelry group, and there will be a link in the description down below. Oh, I'm tripping over my words a lot today. This is the third or fourth or fifth time I have recorded the intro. Woo! Okay, now that that's over with, let's just jump right into what's on my needles, because apparently I have a better time talking about knitting than who I am. Okay. So my first project that is on my needles right now is not the first, not the second, but the third version of my Origin of Love shawl, which is as yet unpublished, and I will tell you why. The reason is the first time I knit it up, it turned out wonderfully, except I didn't really like the shape. It was very flat along the top, and I have a really hard time wrapping that around myself in any sort of way that is comfortable or feels like it's not going to fall off. Also, it was written on scrap pieces of paper on other patterns, so I wanted to rewrite that in a way that made sense and could be easily replicable for anyone else. But I also really wanted to use up this 150 gram ball of yarn that I had, and most skeins of yarn are not 150 grams, and I knew that going into knitting it, so I knew that I was going to have to knit a third version with 2 regular sized balls of yarn, and that is currently what I'm working on. So let me show you how it looks, because I love it. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. I showed 4 different color combinations on the last podcast, possible color combinations for this shawl, and then I also put a poll up on my Instagram, and this was a clear winner, and I am so happy with how it looks. So I'm just gonna cut the chatter and I'm gonna show you. I just finished transferring it to a little, to longer needles. So the show notes will be incorrect on what needles, those words again, what needles they're currently on. I just added one of the little extender things for the circular needle cables, so I can actually show you how it looks. And here it is, guys. So this is knit up on, this is the slime colorway. It's by Palindrome Knit. She's an Ontario-based dyer. I do not believe her store is open anymore online, so that's really unfortunate, because I do really love how this this is looking. It's got like the very bright greens with some really dark green speckles in here. It is on her Kisa fingering base, which is a 70-20-10 superwash merino cashmere nylon base. And paired with it is this gorgeous colorway. It's by Essence of Autumn, and it's called Y-Marsh. It's on her Prairie Sock base, which is an 80-20 superwash merino nylon. Although this is not currently a colorway that she has in her shop, and I'll provide a link to her shop in the show notes as well, because she has some really neat looking colorways. She is also an Ontario-based dyer, which is really neat. All these Canadian dyers finding their way into my yarn stash. so this is how it looks. These shawls, they're ginormous. Let's see if I can do this without dropping anything. Okay, so this is how long it is right now, and we still got a ways to go. A ways, but it's so pretty. Look at it. Yeah, I love how the greens are all pulling together. Oh, so gorgeous. So here's kind of a better look at the top of the shawl. Lots of it's not stockinette. Garter. Lots of garter. Whew. I don't know what's up today, guys. I'm so sorry. My words, they just don't want to come out of my mouth very well. So lots of garter stitch up top here, and then switches up a little bit, and it keeps with this kind of general pattern, and slowly fades into a stockinette before we hit our first lace segment. I love it. Also, I've been really good with this shawl so far. All of my ends are currently woven in. See? No ends. No ends. Got little, that's where they're woven in. Yeah. When I finished my last shawl, I did not weave in the ends as I go along, which is a little unusual for me. Usually that's something that I keep going, because I don't really like weaving them all in at the very end. There's nothing quite like being, oh, my pattern, it's all done, it's gorgeous, it's ready to block, except I still have 45 minutes of ends to weave in. Nope. Nothing quite like that. So that is my main project that is on my needles right now. If you're curious, currently I'm drinking this delicious strawberry rhubarb wine. It's by XOXO Botanical, and I'm not really sure what kind of wine it is other than fruity and delicious. It's the first time I've tried it. I really like fruity wines, sweet wines. They're really dry, tart. I mean, it's okay, but it's not really my thing. It's not my ideal. The other thing that I have been working on the last 2 weeks was, once I finished my larger 250 gram version of the Origin of Love shawl, I needed a little bit of a palette cleanser. Also, I didn't really want to all up my yarn. I was procrastinating. So I did a couple of squares on my Coziest Memory blanket. 5, I think. Only 4. Anyways. So these are the 4 squares that I did. There's this yellow. This I think is something like Spice Market or Curry Powder. This is Curry Powder by Biscotti Yarns. They're also from Ontario, or Quebec actually. This I think this is for sure a Malabrigo. I don't remember the colorway. And this was leftovers from some socks that I made my grandpa that ended up going to my mom because they didn't fit my grandpa. Yeah, so spent a couple hours on that. If you're curious to see how the whole thing looks, it's very long. It's going to be a queen size blanket, and I'm really trying to go with like rainbow-ish colors, color pattern. So start over here with our purples. We get into our, let's go the other way. We start over here with our reds, and we kind of go into oranges, yellows, beautiful. But then I fell off the wagon a little bit, and okay, yellow, back on track. Green. It really should be blue next, but it's not. It's more like purple, and then blue, and then indigo. So it's rainbow-esque. Yeah. Rainbow-esque. I still really love it, and I still think it's going to be great, and I cannot wait for when it's finished in like 10 years. Because it's going to take me a very long time. Oh, and it's warm. Oh my goodness, it's going to be so warm. I thought I was showing you the wrong side, but I wasn't. This is right. So there, that is my coziest memory blankets by Kemper Way. And if you do not have one currently going on and you do not have a use for your leftover scrap yarn in fingering weight, I suggest maybe checking that out. Or I always see Amy from Happy Little Yarn working on her Northeasterly blanket. Not sure who that one is by or who that pattern is by, but wow, I love that one too. I absolutely love how it knits up. Sorry, I'm just folding this so it goes back into its bag really nice. I love how it knits up, and I think I will probably also start one, but it'll also take a very long time. And I'm not ready for that kind of commitment yet. We got a blanket on the go. I don't need another blanket on the go. We'll get there. Okay. Perfect. And while we're talking about projects on my needles, I may as well show you the longbow pattern by Rhiannon, I think, that I had been working on for Chris for festival season, which is canceled because of COVID. That's fine, he'll still have a nice warm hood anyways. And oh my goodness, is it going to be so warm. It is so warm. He's gonna hate it. He's gonna hate it so much. That's fine, I can wear it. So the pattern had called for 3 skeins of 300 gram skeins of worsted weight yarn. And here is, this is what's left of my 3 skeins. And this is how much pattern I have done. So I still have a lot of pattern to knit and that much yarn. Fortunately, some came in the mail, which I will show you just when we get to the stash enhancement section. But here it is. Let me just show you this, guys. This is the Rooted colorway. It's on their Muse hand-painted yarn. It's 100% superwash merino, and it is Knit Picks brand, and it is so squishy. I wish you could like understand how squishy this is. It's just like, whoa, squish, squish. So squishy. And it's going to be so warm. Like, look at how thick this is. It's ribbed, obviously, so it's going to be a little bit thicker, but like, look how thick this is. Wow. That's gonna be like wearing, when it's done, it'll probably be like wearing 500 grams of yarn on your head. That's a lot. That's a lot of yarn. 500 grams. Yeah. Yeah. I might just do it. I like being warm. And I could use my own cowl. Maybe I'll make myself one when I'm done this. And I'll plan ahead for the amount of yarn that I'm gonna end up using. Yeah. Originally, I had actually seen this pattern knit up by Amy on her podcast as well. And that was where I fell in love with it. I was like, oh, I need to make one of those. Okay, refocusing. What is off my needles? Ooh, this is so exciting. I did finish my shawl. It is off of my needles. And let me show you. So this was my 250 gram version of the Origin of Love shawl. And the yarns that I used, whoop, this thing is massive, by the way. This gray is the Knit Picks Chroma fingering yarn, and it's just the gray color. It's a 70-30 superwash merino nylon blend, and it's a single ply. And this thing is giant. I don't think I can show you. I definitely can't show you the whole thing. And the contrasting yarn here, it's a gradient, and it is Mondial yarn in their Emotion base. It's Italian. I don't know how to say it. I'm so sorry. And it is also 100% superwash merino. It was 150 grams again, which is awesome because it ended up being a much larger shawl, and it is the color number 753. So there is no color name, but it started with this brown here and ended up gradienting its way all the way to this orange. So fiery. Oh, I love it. I really love orange. If you couldn't tell from my bedroom wall being painted orange. My whole bedroom is orange, not just one wall. One thing about this is I ended up playing yarn chicken because the little peacocks, they end up taking more yarn than a regular bind off would, as would be expected. And I knew I wanted a peacock bind off. I knew I did, and I knew it was going to be pretty close. I had 6 grams of yarn left when I started my bind off, and by the time I got to the middle and I had 2.6 grams left, I knew I was in trouble. So I yarn chickened my way to here. Yeah. Except at that point I added in the color that I was going to have be using instead. This is actually the same orange that I had been showing in my coziest memory blanket. I really should find out the color rating, but it's a single ply, as with the rest of the shawl, and it's a Malabrigo. So here it is. You can tell a little bit. Honestly, if you didn't know to look for it, you probably wouldn't notice. And where did I run out? Here. This is where I ran out. Right there. Lame. So close. It was like 30 stitches left. Darn. All I needed was like 0.6 grams of yarn, and it would have been perfect. Oh well. Perfect to me. I already forget most of the time when I'm looking at it, so I love it. I love it so much. It is so very large, and it wraps so very nicely. Let's see if I can show you without falling over my stool, and maybe not with my hair in the way. How about that? So pretty. I'm in love, guys. I'm so very in love. Not that I need another orange shawl. However, yeah, it's great. And it's summer, so of course it's too hot to wear. And that is the end of what is off of my needles as far as knitting goes. Now, you may have noticed that I am recording on Sunday instead of my regular Saturday, and there's a reason for that. Yesterday I was planning on it being a very nice, lazy day at home, where I was just going to knit and record and maybe bake. But no. No, what I decided to do was rip apart this shirt that I loved so much at the seams, because it had developed a hole in the lace, and that's just not going to do. So I used the remnants of this shirt as a template and decided I was gonna sew myself a new one. Not that I've ever made a single garment from scratch before. Nope, not once. But yesterday, that was the day. Decided I was gonna do it. And here we are. Now let me show you my first finished garment. Okay, so I decided to just move the camera back instead of trying to show you my whole shirt while being so close to it. Please excuse my piano and my robe. I know they're kind of unsightly, but unfortunately it's a small space that I'm recording in. So this is the shirt in its entirety, now that you can actually see the whole thing. What I had really liked about the original was how high it was in the front, so it's just below belly button, I guess, ish. And then in the back it comes down quite far, so it's got a really nice high front, low back look to it. It's not a look, that is exactly what it is, and I've always really liked those kind of garments. So this is it. I am so very happy with it. Again, the original one had sleeves coming down to here. I don't really like having my arms covered that far, and it would have been relatively tight, which just kind of makes me uncomfortable, so I didn't want to do it. And now that I've shown you the shirt, I'm going to pause and get back into my regular recording spot. And we're back. So one of the things that I had really wanted to start doing this year was try making garments. And unfortunately, with the coronavirus, all of the fabric stores are closed. On the other hand, I have a lot of fabric just laying around. Most of it is quilting fabric, but I did work at Fabricland, so I had a lot of fabric that I had grabbed from clearance bins, which is everything that this shirt is made out of. I also had interfacing laying around because of the occasional knitting bags that I make. So I was basically all set. Also, I have like a ton of zippers. I have like a dozen zippers hanging around in my sewing table. Also from making bags. Makes sense. But what that equated to was everything that I needed to make a shirt. And that is why I did not record on my regular Saturday. I think it was a pretty good trade-off, actually. Aside from my feet get really sore when I stand in the kitchen for that long, and I was probably in there for 5 hours between cutting the shirt and laying out the fabric and making sure I had enough and piecing it all together, and then the actual sewing portion. But I think it was a pretty darn good day, actually. And then last night we had a fire with Gilles and Chantel, who live downstairs. It's a good time. Got this little fire pit, portable fire pit from one of the lovely ladies I work with. Her hubby made a permanent one in their yard, so I got their portable one, and we got to use it for the first time. That was really exciting, and I forgot how much I liked knitting by campfire. And it's one of those things, unfortunately, that there'll be a little bit less of this year as far as festivals go, but now that we have the portable fire pit, maybe we'll just have more fires here. I think that's a great idea. All right, now, stash enhancement. I'm just gonna go right into stash enhancement. I received the 2 skeins of yarn required to finish Chris's longbow shawl. What is it called? Cowl. It's a cowl. His longbow cowl. So here it is. Again, this is the rooted colorway. It is very, very thick. It's also single ply. I guess I really like single ply yarns, but I realized I had to get my butt in gear with ordering this yarn because it is being discontinued. This color is being discontinued, and that would have been a shame. So here's a little more about this yarn. It's got a lot of greens in it with little hints of yellow peeking through there. And I really, really think it's an absolutely gorgeous yarn. It is so pretty, and it suits him almost perfectly, actually. That's my stash enhancement. And that is about it. I do have one type of board enhancement, if you will. I don't talk about it too often, but aside from being a proud cat mama, I am also a proud plant mama, and I got a new plant. This one has been on my wish list for a while. It's a croton. He's a curly-leafed croton, and I had been looking for one. I'd gone to a couple of greenhouses. The only ones that they had were about this tall and like $40, and I just wanted a small one. So I happened to find a lady on Facebook Marketplace who was selling them, and I was like, oh, perfect, I will come and please let me swing by after work to grab it. Little did I know, she's located less than a block from where I work, so I had to e-transfer her money instead of having a chance to stop in an ATM because it was just too close. But that also meant that I got my planter way quicker. I love him so much. He's just like so colorful. He's got all of these colors that I really, really like the reds and the oranges and yellows and greens, and those are just really the colors that I love. So I'm so happy that this guy gets to be added to my plant collection. He has a spot already for him on my plant shelf in the window, so we can make sure he gets enough light. And that really is about it. That's a lot. There's a lot been going on. I have just been so creatively inspired lately. There's so many amazing makers on Instagram and in the world, and it's just really gotten my creative fire stoked and burning again, and that's so great. I was feeling a little not like myself for a good while, and I feel like I'm back and making things, if a little manically. Sorry for the drinking noise. Ooh, it bugs me when I hear that. Anyways, yes, I am back and creating in full force, which is spectacular. I feel much better. I feel way more like myself again. And now maybe I can start cutting down some of the extra crap supplies I have around the house by making the knitted things. That's exciting. Yes. Alright, so I'm going to leave off here. Thank you so much for coming to hang out with me for the last half-ish hour. I really, really hope you enjoyed that. If you did like spending this time together, please feel free to subscribe and hit the little bell button down below. It might be on this side, it might be on this side, I'm not too sure which side is which when this is video. But there's a little bell, and that will alert you when new videos come up. And yeah, if you have any questions at all or comments, feel free to email me, Mallory@JustADoseOfLove.com, and I will talk to you guys soon. Stay safe and stay happy, and I'll see you later.